The only thing holding us back is like our curated social media feed or what we read in the news because and this is like the whole chapter a whole chapter in a book, which is twofold. One is 95% of stories that we read out there in the media or social media are men. And most of those are their first launch. They ate ramen noodles in their parents' basement. And we're thinking, we're moms, we have 2 kids, we're the ones giving the ramen noodles. We can't do that.
Welcome to Climbing the Corporate Ladder Without Breaking a Heel. I'm your host, Dr. Cynthia. With over 30 years in the corporate world as a single mom, cancer survivor, and often the only woman in the C-suite, I understand the balancing act high-achieving women face. Now an executive coach and international speaker, my mission is to embolden every woman in the C-suite or on the rise to claim her agency and challenge the norms holding her back. Tailored for ambitious professional women, this show features candid conversations with powerful business leaders sharing their real stories of success and failure. If you're ready to look up and step up, you're in the right place. Join us and invest in your future today. Hello and welcome back. I'm your coach, Dr. Cynthia. If you've ever told yourself, I'll do it when the kids get older, when work settles down, when I feel ready, this episode is going to feel like a conversation you have been waiting to have. My guest today built 2 companies, closed deals 6 months pregnant, walked into boardrooms that didn't see them coming, and retired on their own terms. We'll have to explore the true meaning of retired. 9 kids between them, 2 exits, 1 book about to change how ambitious women think about what is possible. Beth Mazza and Victoria Sivrais are the co-founders of Female Mavericks, and they are here because they know something most women won't say out loud. You're not playing small because you're afraid. You're playing it safe because someone convinced you the price of your potential was too high. We're going to name that today, and we're going to change it with Beth and Victoria. Welcome to Climbing the Corporate Ladder Without Breaking a Heel. Real quick, I want to introduce the 2 of you. Beth Mazza is a serial entrepreneur, Forbes featured founder, and Crain's Chicago 40 Under 40 honoree. She is a co-founder of Female Mavericks and the forthcoming book, Entrepreneur Like a Mother, which we're going to explore, a framework-driven playbook for building a 7-figure business without sacrificing the people who matter most. Beth has spent her career at the intersection of ambition and motherhood, and she is done letting women believe the 2 things are in conflict. Victoria Sivrais is the co-founder of Claremont Partners, a PR and communications advisory, and a member of the PR Week 40 Under 40 and NACD Directorship 100. She brings a boardroom level perspective on what it takes for women to lead at the highest levels while building a life they actually want. Victoria knows what it costs women to shrink themselves to fit into rooms that were not designed for them. And she is not interested in shrinking. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for
Thanks.
having on.
Thanks for
Of
having us.
Absolutely. I'm so inspired. As I read your bios, I'm like, okay, 2 badass women. Normally I get 1 badass woman or 1 amazing male ally, but today we are double teaming this episode and I'm super excited about it. So, Victoria and Beth, talk to us about your origin story. Take us back. How did the 2 of you connect and get started on this whole work around Female Mavericks?
Yeah, I mean, it's a story for sure. So we've known each other for about 20 years. So I am a few years behind Beth, and so I immediately after school became a computer programmer, which is so weird, but it is what it is. And I got super bored really fast, and so I just kind of looked around for other opportunities. I fell upon what was Beth's first firm, Ashton Partners. I
Mm.
had a background in finance. I had been doing consulting, so I thought, hey, why not just go do investor relations? I know nothing about it, but I should figure it out. So, and to be very honest, at that moment in my life, I was really thinking about what's going to hold me over until I decide to get married, have kids, and stay home forever. Instead of taking on $300,000 in debt and going to law school, that's why I started looking for the other job. So, to be fair, that business, Ashton Partners, was something that was going to be the holdover until I did that.
Yeah.
Wow. the plan was very, very different. I walked into Ashton Partners. The first time I met Beth, I saw her stomach before I saw her because she was pregnant with her twins and she was, I think, a month away from having the babies. And I was like, wow, I mean, this is pretty cool. She is like this badass that is just building a business, and those were her sec- third and fourth kids. So like she had already been through it. She was amazing. So fast forward, so she was my boss. I quickly watched her kind of just command boardrooms left and right. And I realized, oh my gosh, I think I might be as ambitious as I thought I was when I was at school. And
Yeah.
so I learned everything I can from her. So fast forward, she ended up selling that business into a bigger consulting company. We became kind of tied at the hip. I was her right hand. She led in and ran the America's business of that FTI, or I'm sorry, of that consulting firm. And I was running the capital markets. We realized pretty quickly in that corporate America that we wanted to kind of move on and do it again. So we left and started Claremont Partners. I started first. She came in after her garden leave about a year later. All that being said, the origin story is this in a nutshell. She went from my boss to my mentor to my best friend, work wife, business partner, which one we got to really learn a ton from, not only raising kids, and she was just really a champion for me and things like that as I started to have my family. So, um, we were everything. That's the origin story. We were
Yeah.
everything.
That's so incredible. I just love women supporting women, number one. The fact that what a blessing to have, and I've had that in my life as well. And hopefully I'm extending that to others. Somebody who having a female that you can look to that is an example, right? That has a shared lived experience. So
Yeah,
often so many women don't have that, and I feel like that is it's so unfortunate that they can't look to a woman who is ahead of them on the path
yeah.
and go, "That's what I want to aspire to be," and have that to look for. Beth, what was that experience like for you? That must be very gratifying to hear that you're on Victoria's Life Board of Directors.
Oh my gosh, she is on mine, has saved my butt more times than you can imagine, but I wanna tell you the other side of that. For women who are ambitious, it was like once Victoria realized what she wanted to do, she knew that I probably had a lot of the clients she wanted to work on. I felt like I would open my door, her face would be there. I would walk to the bathroom, she would be there. I would think, "Oh, I really need this research done." She would walk into my office and hand me that. Like, she held up her part of the bargain on that really hard.
Right.
I did open doors in the beginning, and then I didn't have to. She opened her own. But man, she was ambitious and super, super smart, and what I always loved about her that I think are what women's secret sauce is, she could gauge my mood and my needs or a client's mood or their needs so quickly that she
Mm,
just delivered on it, and it was so seamless, so
You know
yeah.
what's funny though? Back in those days when we met each other is, especially in the bigger consulting firm that we were in, you don't always run across those women that really wanna support other women.
Oh,
Not because they're mean or malicious, it's because they're running the same rat race trying to
yeah.
break through the barriers, and so, like, they're just not as open to it. So, like, when I had my first baby, I actually had, like, my other boss say to me, who was a man, to be fair, but said, "You know, you're having a child now, so, like, you need to reallocate your priorities, so you don't need to be at this big client meeting." And I was like, "Oh," and I'm
And
pretty sure I ran right to Beth's office, and I was like, "There's no way this is gonna happen. I'm gonna be at that meeting."
And
And
the best context of that is the guy who said that, I was his boss and I had 4 kids, and I thought, "What does he
crazy.
think of me? Like, I'm just the
isn't that
worst
so
leader?"
funny? Thank you for trying to have agency on my behalf. I think I'll manage my own agency here. Thank you
Totally, it
very
was
much.
crazy. It was
That
crazy.
is that is wild. That is crazy. Um, you all have 9 kids between you. That's
Mhm.
amazing. Yeah. So you got a little bit of a head start, Beth, and had a multiple in there. So,
And my
um,
ambition wanted to one up her with the 5th. So,
Yeah, she's
there
got a
you
multiple
go.
too.
There you go. Yeah. Did
She
you
has
just one
twins as
more?
well. We both
Oh,
have
you
multiples.
yeah.
do? Oh my gosh, y'all were separated at birth in a
She
different
just one-upped me
lifetime.
with that last cute kid, Evelyn.
I see it happens. That's what happens. Um, I want to talk about so I'm really fascinated by this idea and I want to be careful here because I don't want to be misunderstood by the woman listening. Um, the woman listening who is a stay-at-home mom, loves being a stay-at-home mom, and that is her dream. I love that. My daughter did that for 5 years, and then interestingly, Victoria, there was a point where for her, everyone's unique. For her, she felt like she kind of lost her identity of all the other dreams and aspirations that she had. And her whole identity became I'm a mom and a wife instead of I'm a singer and I'm an actress and I,
Yeah.
have all of this creative side. And she had a real kind of moment where she was struggling with sort of her identity around that. It sounds like for you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but kind of one of the things I heard you say is you sort of had that a dream, I want to do this and then I want to get married and have babies and so on. But then you saw in Beth somebody that's doing both.
Mhm.
And was that ability to see someone doing it, but did that sort of open up the idea that that's possible for you? Is that where that shifted?
100%. Like
Yeah.
100%. I mean, and so I think it was probably twofold. It was A, I found this work that I really love doing. And like to this day, I think about all of the success we had. And it was really because I think we both loved it. And the iteration and the evolution of those businesses over the years. But yeah, heck yeah. I mean, of course it was because I saw that she had both a family and was building a business and made some nice chunk of change. So like to be fair, when I went to go start Claremont Partner, and she knew it from the very beginning. My whole point was I wanted to build a nut for my family. So when my
Mm,
kids were older, I could be home.
yeah.
And like that is where we're at right now. And we'll get into Female Mavericks too, but like that is a big, huge component of that. But
Right.
like to those women that are listening that are stay-at-home moms too, like, you know, of the 9 kids, 7 of them are girls. So like I think Beth and I sing from the same tune, which is everything we do and everything we try to emulate for women is that they can make whatever choice that they feel like is the right choice for them.
Absolutely.
Some of my best friends slash sisters, they chose to be stay-at-home moms. And like, I think that that was a really, really hard job. Like, and I
Mhm.
still, I even kind of struggle, and Beth knows it now that I am home. I struggle with it all the time because I think you do feel like you lose identity and you feel like you're in this like groundhog day. And so like different seasons of life bring different areas, and so, like, it's
Mm,
about I hate the word empower, but it is about telling women and telling our daughters, "You get to do whatever you wanna do." Like, you wanna
right.
go start a business? Awesome, you could do that. You wanna go stay home and be with your kids? Awesome. You wanna do both? For sure you can do it. I think
Yeah.
that's the point.
Absolutely. Yeah, and two things we've already discussed. One is representation matters. It's important to be
Mhm.
able to see other successful women who are balancing both because it sort of opens up the possibilities that's possible. The other thing you said that I spend a lot of time talking about is figure out what you're really naturally good at, what you're
Mhm.
talented at, what makes your heart sing, and go do that because it doesn't feel like work. It feels like passion. And if you can't get that in your day job, because right now you just need to work whatever it takes to pay this expensive gas prices
Yeah.
or whatnot, find a side hustle that or volunteer or something that gives you that opportunity to make your heart sing. When you all think about the women that you come into contact with and women in general, um, it feels like you all refused to believe that you had to settle for one or the other. Let's start with you, Beth. I think we've talked about Victoria's notion. W- Where was your mindset in terms of you had this big powerful job, you're also having children, raising a family. Um, How did you come to terms with, "I can do both"? I mean, I did it as well, so
Yeah.
we do it, but was that ever something that you called into question, or was it just like, that's what the plan is?
Oh, yeah, like every 5 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
because I messed up all the time, I forgot to pick up a kid. I made the Chex Mix for the kindergarten social wrong. Like, there's just so many things that I did wrong, so I beat myself up all the time. I think I had, like, momentum with me, which is I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, immigrants, and, my dad is this crotchety old Italian dude, but he treated me the same way he treated my brothers when it came to entrepreneurship.
Right.
He never made a difference between the 2 of us, and he assumed they would be entrepreneurs and I would be too, so I think, like, it just took me till I was maybe 40 to realize, like, "Oh, that isn't everyone's mindset." But, I mean,
Mm.
the daily, uh just the daily reminders that maybe you're not being the best mom you could be.
Yeah.
I also had this, like, amazing mom who every time one of my kids would do something terrible or I would do something terrible to one of my kids, I would say, "Oh god, mom, it's because I work." And she's like, "I no, it's not. You just made a mistake." Or, "No, no, it's not. It's that he's 7." She would kinda
Mm.
remind me that a lot of the problems that I saw that I was beating myself up for were just sorta natural, and I should get over myself, so I tried to.
Yeah. I love your your vulnerability with that because goodness knows, I made several mistakes. In fact, I had both of my adult children on the podcast last Christmas time, holiday time, and, I wasn't sure where that was gonna go because it was
Yeah.
like, "Let's talk about what it was like growing up with a, a career mom," and, I was kinda, like, hoping that because my son is my editor, I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to get anything out that I didn't want, in.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we have I mean, there's a funny vignette in the book that I won't go into it. It's basically something that I still think about where I really messed up with my son, who is now, 25, living in New York, doing just fine. And so we did video where we called him and I like apologized for my part in not getting him like into the cool kids lunch bunch club in kindergarten. And he was like, "What are you talking about?
yeah.
I had the best kindergarten." "What? Mom, like, stop it." Like, I mean, he really was just
Right.
kinda like I'm like, "Sam, I'm carrying this with me." He's like, "You
Yeah.
shouldn't be."
Can I tell you this? Like, yesterday driving the twins, they're 10 years old. Kate looks over at me because now she only wants to sit in the front seat. I'm sure I'm gonna get in trouble for putting her there, but whatever. She goes, "Why did you retire?" And I was like, "Um, I don't know. Like, I wanted to be with you guys. Don't you want me here?" And she's like, I mean, I really like Stephanie, like, I'd like that was our nanny prior. She goes,
Oh,
"I really miss her a ton, like, I mean, maybe you could go back and she could still be with us." And I was like, "Oh my god." Like, I just had to, like I was like, "Oh, okay, she lives in California now. I love Stephanie. If you're ever listening to this, I
right.
love you,
Right.
and I
Right.
can't wait to see you, but, like, I like to be home." Like, but it was hilarious, like, that whole thing, I just that diatribe that I built a nut to be home with them, and then she goes,
Right.
"I'd really like Stephanie back." "Okay,
Right.
thank you."
Right. They keep us humble, don't they? Those
Totally.
those
It's
those kids of
amazing.
ours. And by the way, it doesn't stop at 10. Mine are 27 and 32, and they keep keeping me humble.
Yeah.
So, um, you know, oh, Beth, you mentioned something, and I think it's so fascinating because Victoria, you had come up really more in the corporate space, and Beth, you had been sort of a serial entrepreneur, as at least as my research indicated. And you mentioned that your family was sort of your dad was really into entrepreneurship growing up and so on. More and more women are dabbling with entrepreneurship these days. I think a variety of things. I think COVID gave us this different level of freedom and what ifs. I think that people are leaning into their values and sense of purpose more, and if they're not getting it at their employer, they're going to take their ball and do it themselves elsewhere, etc. But so many women, and I think this gets to the crux of where you guys sort of sit, is we kick that can down the road. It's we're afraid of the risk. We're afraid of we have this idea, this desire, this notion that we could go do this thing, but something's holding us back. So, what is the thing that's holding most women back, do you think? And how do they get out of their own way if they weren't raised with a family that's like, of course we do entrepreneurship. That's what we do.
Look, Victoria and I probably have a little bit different answers. I'm gonna give you mine. The only thing holding us back is, like, our curated social media feed or what we read in the news because
Mm,
and this is, like, a whole chapter in a book, which is twofold. One is 95% of stories that we read out there in the media or social media are men. And most of those are their first launch, they ate ramen noodles in their parents' basement. And we're thinking, "We're moms, we have 2 kids, we're the ones giving the ramen noodles, we can't do
right.
that." Part of it but the reality is that this is the first year that more than 51% of the businesses that were started in the US are started by women. So just if you could just curate that feed instead of the one that you see,
Mm,
and you could get out there and you could talk to other moms doing it, some in a big way, some in a much bigger way than we ever did it, some like us, some like a woman I talked to last week who said, "I'm gonna have a small business until my kids go to high school, and I'm just gonna build brand, but I'm gonna keep it below 7 figures, but I'm gonna do it, and then when my kids go to high school and they launch, I'm gonna launch this thing bigger." I mean, I think there's so many different ways. So one, curate your media feed so you're not only seeing Mark Zuckerberg and then, the next AI god. They're gonna always be everywhere, but 51% of women are now starting business in the US. You can be there too. And then the second is just to not just curate your social media feed, but like your kind of life feed. We talk
mm,
about our kitchen cabinet. Our kitchen cabinet that is who gave us the most brilliant advice and helped us with our sale and everything. They're women like we are. And so we just slowly built this little community of women who didn't think it was crazy when we would call them and be like, "I'm stuck in New York. Can someone go pick up my kid?" And so you
right,
you have to actively curate that as a mom entrepreneur because there's not that many of us out there, and I think that we did. And
right.
both those things, man, I promise you, if you have that, all the imposter syndrome and all the stuff that we face as women, that's kinda out the door because 'cause you're in this kinda community where you start to feel comfortable that others are
Mm,
doing it, and you can do it too. And also women support each other so much.
yes. The right women support each other so much.
Yes. Yeah,
Yes,
yes,
which
yes.
gets back to surround yourself with the right people.
Totally.
Victoria, what about you? Because, now maybe you had positioned yourself financially where entrepreneurship seemed more doable. No, because I think that's where the average woman listening is going, well, yeah, I think that would be really cool, but I've never spoken from somebody who spent 35 years in corporate, right? Every 2 weeks,
Totally.
as long as I did a good job, a paycheck showed up. 3 years ago, I'm, out of my ear and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go do my thing. It was terrifying.
Well, I think so. I'm going to tell you what I think keeps people on the sidelines today, and I'm telling you that I didn't do any of this, which is why
Okay.
I'm teaching what everybody else to do this. But like, I mean, I had blind belief that like I could do it. I emptied my 401k to give the capital to start Claremont. I was not in a financial position to do it. Um, I had not done the right budgeting to understand when we were going to get to break even, when I was going to get that investment back. Um, but I did have the revenues to sustain a business and to drive it forward. So when I think about other women, what keeps them on the sideline, I think it's twofold. I think they listen to their kid and they're like, oh my gosh, corporate America is giving me all this flexibility to have work from home, to have PTO, to do this, like the 401k, all of those things. Um, so but it's kind of a facade. Like the higher you climb in the ranks of corporate America, the more handcuffs you honestly have on you. And again, if I go back to the some of the women who are all kind of running the same rat race, that sometimes you get kind of just spitefulness because they're like, well, I have to be here, so you have to be here. So like we're just gonna all be fine with it. And then the guys are gonna go off and drink all night and go to some boondoggle because
Right.
their wife's home taking care of the kids or whatever. So like,
Right.
I mean, there is all these things. So like I think the perceived flexibility in corporate America is what keeps women from leaving, the ones that are working moms right now. Um, I think the other thing is just not knowing the facts. So, like, again, what I didn't do, which I should have done, I did it probably, you know, 12 months into it, and then I was slavish to it for the rest, but is to build and understand your freedom number. And what we always mean by that is what is the income that you will have if you walked away from corporate America to start your business? What's the savings you have? How long can you live on it? What's your partner making? Is there other areas that you can get income from? What are going to be the startup costs for the business? And then what is the base level expenses that you're going to need to maintain the lifestyle that you want to maintain with that business? When you put those all together and understand then your financial model for this business that you might create, you understand your runway. So
Mm-hmm.
it becomes less of a question mark or an unknown. You know exactly what you have to work for, which allows you to create a strategy to make it work. So like, I mean, in this day and age, and like for me now, like fact based is always. Whenever I felt like we were out of control in the business, like it was actually Beth knew not to call me when I was in this mode. When I went back to our budget to know how we were tracking against our budget versus what our goals and our stretch goals were. So like,
Mm.
but that always recentered me. And so I think when there is a woman sitting there, I can't leave my kids, I can't leave the flexibility, I can't do this. But if you look at the 401k match that you're giving up versus the potential of earnings in, 2 to 3 years, if your financial freedom number can allow you to get there, it should be a no-brainer. But again, you
Mm.
have to do that work to understand if it is even doable and if you can take the plunge.
Yeah, and when you agree to, and maybe you cover, we're gonna pivot here in just a second to your book. I'm super excited to talk about Entrepreneur Like a Mother, which will be out on September 22nd and is already available in pre-sale. So we want everyone to go to Amazon or wherever great books are sold and get your pre-sale copy. Amazing title, by the way. I love it.
Thank you.
Um, so we'll go there, but I think the other thing I would offer, I would love your perspective is I think that you also can start small as a
Mhm,
side hustle. So I
mhm.
coach a lot of women who have a dream of a stationery business, or, I've been speaking to a woman, she's actually on the podcast, who started a bakery with her mother and her sister, um, or a coaching business. And building it financially and from a time investment perspective that fits the current lifestyle where they can continue to have do your day job with excellence
Mhm.
and then incrementally sort of leaning into this passion that you're monetizing, such that two things. One is because my thing is start working on your future today. Don't kick the can down the
I
road.
totally
Don't put
agree.
it
Yep,
off, right? Nobody's going to do it for you. You have to be working on it today. Um, because then if said corporate job or other job, you get laid off, there's, an unexpected divorce or relocation or anything else with life being as messy as it is, you've got momentum toward this other side hustle that could turn into something.
totally.
Or it starts to monetize faster than you thought and you start to phase into it. Do you all support that as well?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's actually a super smart business strategy in what you said. If you can get one product right or one service right, and you get the delivery of it, the margins of it, how you sell it at the lowest cost possible, all those different things. Now you have your recipe card to go do that 50 times over. And I mean, a lot of times I will take this on. I would be like, let's do 6 things at once.
Yeah, yeah.
And we would always end up clearly screwing up 4 to 5 of them. And we would have to pare back. And we got lucky because we always did one right. So I would go so far as to say that's also a business strategy.
Mm,
And then you
yeah.
can take stock and then say, oh, I love this, that's all I ever wanna do, or man, I could do 2 of these, and
Yes.
then I would get away from my corporate job. Okay, now I know how to do it.
Right. Right.
I mean, not to pivot too soon, but like the I think the second chapter in our book is this idea of finding the business model that makes sense for you. So you
Mm,
can just jump in feet first. So like we called it the mompreneur mayhem matrix. And it really is how much mayhem are you willing to handle versus the reward, which helps create the business model. Like I think Beth and I, because we were full hog and we wanted an exit, we went straight feet first, high reward, high mayhem. And it worked
mhm.
for us. It will not work for everyone else.
Right.
There are other models that work brilliantly for the stay-at-home mom that just kind of wants to dip their toe and figuring out. But the one thing I would say is passion, you said it earlier, passion totally matters. But the time that you're going to put into a business, you need to make sure that that passion matches the ability to make money. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
again, I always, because I was our pseudo CFO, I always go back to the numbers. Like, does that passion lead to not only sales, but profit? And I think a
Right.
lot of the women thinking about starting the business or in the middle of building one think all top line and not so much bottom line, and bottom line is actually what you're creating.
Right, right. Yes, yes, guilty. Guilty as charged. In fact, I love, love, love hosting this podcast. I meet incredible people from all over the world, like the two of you. Um, I have not even attempted to monetize it at this point, but it's an
Yeah,
it's a it's a labor of love. I mean, there's a lot
totally.
of time and investment and energy.
Yeah,
And I keep thinking, at what point do I need to fish or cut bait? At what point do I need to say, given the amount of time invested, I either need to put this into my business strategy or not, because at some point it has to be more than a hobby. But well, that's for another day. I do want to talk about entrepreneur like a mother. You guys define it as a tactical playbook. And I'm all about action. I'm all about, don't just give me theory, don't give me concepts and make me feel good and then I'm sort of left like, okay, now what? Talk a little bit more about what you mean by tactical, and give us sort of the overview or the through line of entrepreneur like a mother.
you want to go?
I
You
mean,
want me to?
oh, I'll start. I mean, then you kick off on the power moves.
There you
So,
go.
I mean, we meant it to be tactical because we all picked up books and read them and thought, excuse me, thought that's great, but I could never do that. And I don't even know how they did it. So we start with the Mommy Mayhem Matrix, which is just to get women to actually do the work and say, first of all, what are my personal and financial non-negotiables? And I better build a business model in there. And second of all, the business that I do, is it sized and is it the type of business that could be executed in the model I chose? Two big pieces of it, right? So
Mm,
that beginning part is we, sort of convince you that if you think your corporate job is safe, it probably isn't. Uh,
right?
and if you're thinking, how would I possibly replace my corporate salary? That there's this big step you have to take before you jump off with your candle business that you want to do. So I think that's
Yeah.
the beginning part of it. And then we hit the five power moves.
Yeah, and the core of that book is the 5 power moves that takes you from ideation to scaling a business. So, figuring out what your total addressable market is, what piece of that TAM can you take? Building out your kitchen cabinet, so that your pseudo board of advisors, figuring out how to move from ideation to growth, learning what my favorite is, the pivot, and being able to pivot all the time and starting before you're ready. Like, don't wait till you have a perfect product. It's never going to work that way. And then we go into scaling from there. And you're going to see work life balance as my kids continue to peek out in the back.
I
Allie,
just see that.
that was it. Yep.
The
Hmm.
door is
That
always
is
closed to that.
I mean,
How would she know?
how would she know? And I
that's
like
what
that
we
she's
do. But
in
she
that.
was
They're all going,
dressed.
I will take that for a win for sure.
I mean, you never know. You could expect a little one to come in with not dressed. So there's
Yep.
that.
Totally.
I love these. I love the power moves. Obviously, maybe not obviously, entrepreneur like a mother. So threaded through, I'm
Yeah.
thinking about myself as I still consider myself a novice entrepreneur going on 3 years. It feels still very new. I'm learning daily. But my kids are launched. Um, is the notion of how do you balance that with family,
Uh-huh.
motherhood, etc., woven through? And talk about sort of the target audience and maybe the secondary or tertiary audience. Would
Yeah.
that be something that would be helpful for me as a more mature entrepreneur?
Look, what's woven through are the entertaining stories because we didn't have balance.
Right.
One day we were great. we closed every piece of business. We were kings of the world, queens of the world at a board meeting for a headline you would see the next day, and we would be part of it. And then you get out of that meeting and you'd find out that you're at the nurse's office called 9 times and your kid's been in the nurse's office for 4 hours because you didn't sign the permission slip so they could take aspirin, So
Right.
it's not about trying to help you balance. It really is about at whatever stage of momhood you're at, that you see the messiness of it. We couldn't have been like, the
Yes.
stories are really, really funny, but as I go back through them, because they were true and they happened to us, your heart hurts a little bit knowing what I felt when that was happening. So I think it's pure entertainment value, and also no one will end reading that book thinking, you have to have balance or we had balance.
Right.
You
So
don't
very
even
validating then.
that's the whole point of getting so personal on some of the stories in a tactical book,
Right.
was that you would feel like, "Oh my gosh, if those guys could do it, I could." And I
And
think when
then
we
I
think
think
about
the other thing too, just on that point, is that th those power moves are born out of a lot of the mistakes that we made. So, like, the goal is hopefully anyone who reads that and uses that does not make those same mistakes. And, like,
Right.
I do believe for you, like, just for an example, like, you're a more mature entrepreneur, but I think that there is learnings for the various points of where you're at in your
Mhm.
building of a business. And I
Right.
think the beauty of those power moves is like they're not linear. Like, you don't have to start at one. And especially like when you get to the end where we talk all about scaling, we then say there's a different roadmap for, again, where you are in your business life cycle so that you can hit those pieces in the power moves to go back and kind of focus on the scale. And
Right.
I think, again, like, understanding your point, if it's validating to hear like the absolute insanity that went on in her lives, like, but I always really liked that. It always made me feel good when I screwed up that Beth was like, "Oh, I already did that. Like, it's fine." And they're good.
yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
amazing to me. So,
And maybe it's funny because we didn't include in the initial draft the worksheets and guides in the back, and an entrepreneur friend of ours was like, "Wait, I need more." "I need a
Mm.
workbook, I need worksheets, I need to fill stuff in." So we ended up creating ones where you could fill it in, but that we also filled it in so you could see how we did each step.
Oh,
We
that's
thought that might be
helpful.
helpful. I mean, we're trying to just whatever your obstacle is as an entrepreneur, we're trying to find a way to address it, because we know if you just, like, take that really big step forward, once you're in it, you're in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Once you've drunk the Kool-Aid, you're going nowhere. So the funny thing, because you asked about the audience of the book, the funny thing is, we absolutely wrote it for aspiring and current moms, right? That
Mhm.
was our idea. That was we thought I read every business book that comes out, and I just could not believe that there wasn't a playbook written for moms, and really there wasn't a playbook for female entrepreneurs at all. Every time we would talk to a publisher, they would quote lean in. And finally we were like, lean in was written 20 years ago about how to deal with a corporate environment. She
Right.
was not an entrepreneur. She did not start Facebook. She was telling you how to get along in the corporate environment, and yet that's what people knew. So,
And she was also telling you to change how you behaved to fit better into that mold, which was
I mean,
just, it is not Beth and I.
it wa we I made her
Shocking.
I read it, and then she was like, "This is ridiculous." She reread it and was like, "Do you know what this says?" So we had a great conversation about that. So that was our target audience. What has been really funny is there are a whole lot of female Mavericks that are guys. We crack
Mm.
up. We Men come to us all the time, and they either make a joke or they don't even make a joke, that they are getting our newsletter or they're in the Female Mavericks and they're asking really direct questions. And I think the cool part about that is they feel the same longing that we did, which is, wait, I want to be a parent. Like, I want to be
Mhm.
good
Mhm.
at this. I want to be
Yeah.
competent at this. And I mean, that's been a super, super surprise for us. But if you're our age reading this book, I now think you would be totally validated. You would
Yes.
read stuff that you did that we did and thought, oh, mine wasn't that bad.
Yeah, well, similarly, Now Near Next is full of all of the mommy moments, the bad mommy moments, drug and drop, right? The fever's
Yeah.
not that bad, bad,
Oh, yeah.
and you just
Oh,
hope that they make it, through your
yeah.
board meeting.
Yes,
So
exactly.
I get it. I get it. I'm not proud of some of those things, but they were things. I
Are your
love this.
kids pretty fine? Because mine
They
are. They're
are. They
amazing.
are absolutely amazing and fine, and any if it they of course, they love to harass their mother, so, they love the time when, I perfectly placed a towel in a vase in my bathroom, and I had spent time just getting it right, and my son came in and washed his hands and whipped it out, and I had a come apart, and as soon as and he's looking, he goes, "Mom, it's a towel." I realized, okay, that was not a nice mommy moment. I was having a
Mhm.
little OCD. Sorry about that.
So
Yes,
true.
and so he, enjoys bringing that up anytime there's new people around so he can make sure that I stay very humble, which I'm grateful of. Talk a little bit about Female Mavericks. Love that. And by the way, I don't think either of you are retired. So I'm big into this notion of encore career. So it sounds like you have
Yeah.
moved into your encore career,
Yeah, I
rather than
think
retirement.
it's funny, I just got a note from one of my number 3 yesterday that said I said something to her about retirement. She's like, "Mom, get a grip. You're not retired." But, Female Mavericks is really mission-based, which is super freeing for both of us because we don't expect that this will be a massive money-making venture, and our entire mission-based goal is 10,000 women, seven-figure businesses. So we have if you, have no money to invest whatsoever, you have newsletter that we put out that's really practical. We have a really low cost course, which takes you from ideation to launch.
Mm.
We'll do applications for people who feel like they can't afford the book. If they answer 3 questions, we're going to send it to them for free. We mentor women in any way possible. Victoria is in an incubator group. That is what Female Mavericks is all about. If at the end of my lifespan, I could feel personally like I had made an impact and there were people that had the ability or willingness to start a business and it was successful. That's super powerful. It gave us absolute financial freedom, absolute choices. Our kids will never have a student loan. Our houses are paid for. I mean, things that are
Right.
what are so nerve-wracking and anxiety driving to everybody in the universe. We don't have because we chose this path, which was terrible at some points, but turned out very well. And I mean, clearly that's what we hope for everybody.
And I would add that if you go full circle to the start of this conversation, like I was very lucky. I don't think Beth had the same female mentors that I did. So she had other great mentors, but
I did.
I had a great female mentor who turned into a great, amazing business partner and best friend. So building a business side by side with another awesome woman is kind of the unicorn. We talk about it all the time.
Mm.
So, like, when I think about female mavericks, it's everything that Beth just said. Plus, there are so many women out there doing it on their own or just don't have someone to lean on. And so, our idea is that we are going to be this virtual or create a platform that is a virtual work wife for those women so they don't feel so alone doing it.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. 10,000 women, seven-figure income, so that they can have the opportunity to chase those dreams and fulfill those aspirations and have whatever they choose in life, whether it's to be a mom and have their own business or be the best auntie in the world or whatever it may be. I That is
Totally.
incredible. And how do people get a hold of you all to be a part of this amazing community?
You can get any of our contact information from our website. So you can email us. The course is live on our website. You can buy that today. That includes a way to die. It's basically like if you can't wait for the book,
Yeah.
here's a little like teaser for you. There's 10 or 5 or 6 10-minute videos that kind of walk through the power moves in a very more general way. We have that workbook that Beth talked about earlier within that course as well, and also that financial freedom calculator. So that's one thing where you can kind of start learning today. You can email us, you can join, subscribe to our newsletter, or you can pre-order the book and wait. And we're
Everything's
gonna,
on
Yes.
yeah,
femalemaverics.com. And you can
Femalemavericks.com.
always reach out to us. We
I
we're wildly responsive
Yep.
I love
because
that.
we really
So,
care about the
yeah,
audience
I
that's
mean, you've
asking us the
created
question.
something so powerful. So, femalemavericks.com, we're going to have everything in the show notes, but for the woman who's walking or driving or multitasking as many of us
Yes.
do when we're listening to podcasts. We'll have that in the show notes, but all of that rich information is there. Be part of that community. If you're even just wondering about what it may be to start something on your own, I want to take a moment and chat directly with the person listening today. Before we close, I want to name something that Beth and Victoria have been describing because I want our listeners to hear it through the lens of the Stop Drifting framework. In the taxonomy of drift, there are three patterns: complacent drift, which is you're comfortable and it's unconscious; incremental drift, which is that slow erosion, one small compromise at a time; and avoidant drift, knowing something's off and choosing not to address it. What Beth and Victoria are describing, the ambition that you've put on hold, the dream you've deferred, the I'll do it when, that's avoidant drift in the potential dimension of your human flourishing. And the most important thing they said today is this: it doesn't feel like drift. It feels like strategy, like patience, like being responsible. That's the lie avoidant drift tells us. The 7-minute pivot is the anecdote. Consider all the 5 dimensions of your human flourishing. Choose one that feels off. And if you're honest, for many of you listening, you already know which one it is. Notice the signals, identify the pattern, and choose one small thing you're going to do today, not this week, not this month, but today, that the time is right in front of you. And with that, I want to turn to you all. I love for my guests, and I'd love to hear from both of you. We're all about you don't overhaul your life in like 1 minute, right? If you tell somebody, oh, I want to lose weight, it's like, I'm going to start to go to the gym 5 days this week. It's like, you know what? Maybe walk for 5 minutes. you know, let's tick a box that feels doable that you'll follow through on. So, Victoria, what is one small thing you would invite the woman listening to do today?
Um, so mine, well, it's ours to be fair. So sorry, I'm going to take it from you. But like, we tell everybody, look at your list, look at everything that you're barreling staring down at, and pick the hardest thing on that list and do that today. Like,
Mm,
it can be towards moving towards a business. It could be organizing that closet that you wanted to do before you could feel like your mind space was right. But it is everybody, every mother listening has to have that list. So pick the hardest thing, and especially those that are trying to start a business, figure out the one piece that's keeping you on the sidelines.
I love it. Beth?
Oh, your avoidant drift is just it resonates so hard. So those of you in avoidant drift, you you have to actually calculate the total addressable market of your business. I guarantee if you're in avoidance drift, you have your dream. You've got it. You dream what that's going to look like. You dream the product or service. You got to make it super tangible. And the way I would make it super tangible is figure out market size, part of the market I could take. If I got 1% of the market, which is the rule we talk about in our book, if I could only get 1% of the market, what would that be? I'm telling you, when you see those numbers and you realize the impact they could have on you, that's when your dream becomes, how would I execute on this? So, like, just
I
do that
love it.
one exercise and convince your mind, somehow trick yourself, that's all you're gonna do. You're just gonna do
I
that thing. You're just gonna calculate it and see what if you got 1%, what your revenue could be, and then you're just gonna put it down and don't worry about it.
Oh,
Because I
I
think if
love
you do
it.
that, you'll do it.
Now, is that the Mompreneurs Mayhem Matrix?
No, this is all over the book, we talk about the 1% rule, which
Got
is
it.
if 1% of the market that your product or service addresses is 1,000,000, so it's gotta be $100,000,000 market. If it's 1,000,000, that's your go button. If it's too big, you haven't sliced and diced your market enough, and it's too small, you can't make money.
And
Very
within the
good.
course slash starter kit that we have on our website, we have the worksheets to do it.
Yeah, and the
Beautiful.
book, we go much further into it, but
Yeah.
the course gives you enough, and all of our founders file newsletter, there's several of them on that topic because we think it's just so important. The minute you do that exercise, A, you know you have the right business, but B, like, man, something just clicks in your head. You see it
Yeah.
on paper, it's a number, now
Liberating.
you're looking for that.
Yeah, I think that's so liberating. And that's where I want to close today because I think what you all really, first of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing
Thank you.
your vulnerability, your authenticity, your story, your friendship. I love it. I'm very blessed as well to have women who I've known for 20 plus years who have I've been on either the Beth or the Victoria side of the relationship and just honor and love that and you're showing in real time women supporting women, women growing together and then shining a light for 10,000 plus, right? Additional women who want to start this journey. I think what's so important as we close today for the women listening is if to Beth's point, if you've got that little inkling, you've got that, "Ooh, I'd love to do this someday. I think I'd be good at that someday." Start the exploration process. Go to femalemavericks.com and become part of that community. What an amazing place to be part of a community of people who are like-minded and in the exploration stage or further along than you. And do not forget to pick up your copy of Entrepreneur Like a Mother. Again, the pub date is September 22nd, just around the corner, but you want to definitely get that in pre-sale, have that show up in your mailbox and start the journey now. Don't kick the can down the road. Don't be an avoidant drift. Stop drifting. And until next time, I've got you and you've got this. Congratulations on choosing to invest in yourself. I know your time is precious. Thank you for spending it here with me. I believe in helping you look up, step forward, and fully realizing your potential. If today's conversation resonated, I'd be so grateful if you'd rate and comment on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you know someone who would benefit, please share this episode with them. Let's stay connected. Visit me at dr-cynthia.com, and you can find me on all the socials at Dr. Cynthia Bentzen-Mercer. Until next time, remember, boldly start working on your future today.